guys, how's it going? Today I want to give you a tour through our cut flower garden, orchard, berry beds, show you how everything's doing out here. It's a pretty good time of year right now. I feel like a lot of crops are kind of at their peak. We're about ready to start harvesting pumpkins and squash. In fact, I picked a pumpkin last night, a big orange one. So we're getting really close. Also, it's supposed to be 97 today and 75 tomorrow. So we thought we better get out here and show you what it looks like before it all blows away, because that's what's gonna happen. 22-degree drop overnight. So we're right in the front of the garden here. You can see that the grass pathway, we haven't started walking on it or anything like that, but you can see it. So we're really close, I think, at this point to do a little bit of reseeding along the edges. We're gonna come along an edge because you can see, you know, it's got kind of fluffy edges, wavy edges, I don't know. That will be satisfying to come through and make it really sharp. So this is actually going to be a grass path as well, and the grass will go all the way to the entrance right here, so that'll be 15-foot perimeter around the entire cut flower garden, but we're going to keep the interior mulch for now and possibly all of next season. I want to see how the grass does out here and how much it is to maintain. You can see that I like to let vine crops and things grow over it. I like that look. I like that abundance kind of, it's, I don't know, it's a little less structured, and I feel like for this space I like the flexibility of that, but we may come in and do sprinklers at some point. That is a possibility. I do want to show you what's going on in the berry beds because we've got some exciting things. First off, this was the third bed that we had built right here. We are planting, I actually have 4 blackberry plants sitting out in the high tunnels ready to plant, so that I want to put this one full of blackberries, but we have yet to go get stuff to fill it in and run drip and all of that. In this bed, these are all, well, these 2 plants are fall gold, not harvest gold, fall gold plants. Raspberry is an everbearing type berry that I love. It's actually my favorite raspberry, like better than the red ones to me. I really like them. I've been able to eat a few berries off of them, but if you look at this branch right here, we're gonna be able to enjoy several more by the end of the season, which is always exciting on a first-year plant. Right here, I filled the rest of the bed just with random stuff, but this is a new one to me. It's called Pumpkin on a Stick. This plant looks wicked. So the top of the leaves have spines. See those? And then you flip it over, the bottom has spines too. It looks like a Harry Potter type plant. But it produces little pumpkins, look at this, that will turn orange along its stalk, and you can use them in decorating. I think that is really interesting. Then we've got tomatillo plant. That can't be just one. Maybe it's just one. I don't know. I can't remember how many I planted in here, but it's huge. Then we've got an Easter egg eggplant. Look at these. These seeds were sent to me by one of you guys. I grew them last year, started them from seed, and then I just started a few from seed this year. Sweet little egg-shaped eggplants. Russell really wants attention. And then we've got the sweet potato plant, the one that survived the transplant, and that's doing really well. I actually dug around in there because this soil, I mean, look at this. It's like so lofty. It's just a raised bed mix. So you can reach down, and I kind of like rooted around the base of the plant, and there are some big sweet potatoes in there. But I think I'm gonna wait till the vine dies back this time and really let those potatoes size up because we only have 1 plant's worth. This bed here is full of heritage raspberries, which is an everbearing red, and they are doing great. They looked pretty sad for a little while there, but they really have bounced back. They really look good. I just saw some berries on them a little while ago. I have to remember, did I eat them? Maybe. There's some, well, a few. Maybe I saw them on the other side. Either way, we've been able to enjoy a few. Next year will be an amazing year, I bet. Okay, now let's take off and look through here. It's kind of hard to see at the moment what's going on in the squash and pumpkin area because there's so many leaves covering everything. But there's some really beautiful things going on. I'm gonna try to poke my way through and show you a couple. Try not to step on any vines. This pumpkin I am so excited about. This is called Winter Luxury. Look at the, do you call it skin? What do you call that, rind?
Sure.
Whatever. It's got a beautiful like overlay that almost makes it look sparkly or like sugared, and really interesting, pretty stems. So see, we are so close on a lot of these. And then on some of them, there's another type of pumpkin right here, a small orange type, and it hasn't quite colored up all the way. Right there. And let's head over to the other side. I'll show you a big one. So we've got some Jack B. Littles here. There's a whole bunch of them throughout. These vines are looking a little bit sad. And then this one is called a Big Max. It's very big, but the vine just kind of shriveled up on it. You can see that I've left it on there just to see if this will kind of cure a little bit more before I pick it, because you want to wait until the stems are, you know, kind of corky and hard and colored up better than this. This is kind of squishy, so I'm not really sure what's going on, but we've been waiting on that one. And then there are actually a ton of pumpkins, like good size pumpkins right in here. And I wonder, hang on, I'm gonna try to go in here a little bit. Oh, I see an orange one, hold on. So there's a whole bunch of them in here, and there's a bunch of green ones too that have yet to turn. So while it looks like this patch is not producing anything, it's actually producing wildly. I noticed that there are a ton of butternut squash on all the butternuts I planted, and we've got a bunch of decorative stuff too. Look at this one right here. This one's called Hot Chocolate. Isn't that pretty? It's that tannish color I love. All right, let's go look at the melons. In terms of watering, so we have them on a drip system, the grid, and we showed you that when we put that in. And everything's doing really well on that. I have not fertilized, not a single time, any of these things. And then some of them are really looking like, I don't know what vine that one belongs to, like which variety that belongs to. But I think some of them are kind of coming to the end. The last two rows in this section are melons. So the row inside is cantaloupe and honeydew, and the row right here are watermelon, which I just went through and did a harvest video and showed you guys some of my harvest, and then we still have some left. I turned the water off to the watermelons. So there's an inline valve right here on both sides that turns the water off to the watermelon plants. I keep it going on the other melons, cantaloupe and honeydew, but watermelon are a desert plant, and they don't, once they like set their fruit and the fruit get kind of bigger, we, toward the end of the season, turn the water off. It helps intensify the flavor and the sugars inside the melons, instead of the vine just continually feeding the fruit water, which makes your fruit taste very watery. And we did it on August 12th, and look at these vines still. Look how good they still look. What day is today? Today is September the 9th, right? 9th. Yep. Yeah. So the water has been off to these plants for almost a month, and we've had pretty warm weather and quite a bit of wind, and these plants are still really holding up. And I wondered, I've never turned off the water this early, and so it was something that I had to kind of work myself up to. Like, I had to be brave to turn off the water, because I thought, I don't know, I don't want my vines to start looking really bad and the fruit not to work. But that's what all the watermelon growers tell me to do. You know, you got to turn off the water, let those flavors intensify, and it really does work. So you can see we still have a ton of watermelon out here to pick. They just weren't quite ready yet. So we just come through for the melons. About cantaloupe I check every other day or so. Watermelons I check maybe once or twice a week to see if any are ripe. So that's what's going on in this area here. This area has been kind of the one that evolves the most, because I have a lot of crops. Like right here, I had a whitefinch orlea, and I pulled it all and then replanted. So you can see it's all coming up. I'm not real sure. Hopefully with this cool down, it's kind of a cool season though, crop. So I'm hoping that it picks up and takes off. And I did not, you can see I did a kind of a willy-nilly approach to the seeding. Just kind of scattered things. It's not in a very neat row, but it doesn't matter because it all fills in. We've got some really beautiful things. Like I've got some China asters here that look really good. We've got some peach screamer nicotiana, stickiest plant you will ever grow. Ooh, so sticky. And it wants to attract all the bugs too, which is nice. It's kind of a trap crop, but I love the blooms on this. I really want to use it in arrangements, but I really don't want to spray it. So I'm just letting it be a trap crop, and I'm just enjoying the way it looks out here. I didn't realize though, because I have other nicotiana, I didn't realize it was so sticky. You can see we still have larkspur here. I left it because I wanted to gather seed, but it's still like blooming even through the heat. Some of it's done, and I can gather the seed from some of them, but some of these still look really good. I mean, not good enough for flower arranging, but still a lot of pretty color. I did not use any supports for any of these plants in here, which is something I may add next year. You know, some of those horizontal supports with the netting where you can let your plants grow up so they don't flop like these kind of have. I've got some basil right in here. This is the Amazel basil, smells really good. I kind of had a couple of random Gomphrena plants that I popped in here, some pincushion flowers. Look at this one. This is Fama White, I think. This is the type to grow right here. Look how fluffy and gorgeous that is. And the stem length, so nice and so much easier to cut than all these others. Like this is it Black Knight, Dark Knight, and then we've got another white variety, and the stems are a little wispier, a little shorter, and a little bit harder to extract from the plant. We've got clary sage right here, which some of it I need to pull. I actually used some of this in the wedding bouquet I just did. Look at how beautiful that is. There's like a little foliage accent, that beautiful white color. Bells of Ireland, kind of overgrown. It's actually the first time I've ever grown Bells of Ireland, to be quite honest. So I'm just letting it go because I just want to see what it does. I don't use this in flower arrangements really anymore because the stems are really pokey. Like, look at this. Underneath each cluster of blooms, there's like a ring of spikes. And as they get older, they get more sharp. Look at that, under each one. So I didn't know that about this plant, but that's really cool, like the little bell and then the flower inside. Looks kind of like a snapdragon bloom. And then I've got some Crackerjack marigolds just coming up. There's a few more bachelor's buttons coming up. And then this is the area where I had potatoes and onions that we harvested, so I put in some fall crops right here. Honestly, I think this is Nigella. I planted potatoes, like a second crop of potatoes in here. See, Norland and Huckleberry Gold. I don't see a single potato plant that has come up. Oh, maybe right here. Here's one. But I had Nigella in this row, and I left it so long, it probably just seeded itself here and now is coming up again, which is totally great and fine by me. We've got Sensation Cosmos right here. Spinach. I planted this in a video for you guys when I did some fall crops, but I've got spinach. Right here is Butter Crunch lettuce. And then we've got a blank spot where the red cabbage was, so that's my only spot that's open in this area. The row right beyond that, we've got, maybe we start here. We've got beans right here. It starts at the beginning of the row and comes all the way back to me. And then cilantro is just coming up. We've got French breakfast radishes right here. Look how pretty those are. I don't really like radishes, but I love to grow them. So I'm just gonna give these away. They're like perfect stage right now. There are some, this is Persian cress. These are California giant zinnias, a second crop. And then I've got some lacinato kale here. In this row we have nasturtiums, which I actually don't really grow for the bloom so much as the leaves. I love to use the leaves in arrangements. They're so like water lily-esque. I love them. We've got the Mahogany Splendor hibiscus and Russell running around. Right beyond that, I've got peas. So snap peas and snow peas, and they're looking really good. And then here are the tallest cosmos I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Look at these. I'm 5'4". Do cosmos normally get this tall? I don't know, but they're really beautiful. Look at these. So pretty. I did not tag any of these. I just came out here with seed packets and just tucked seeds in wherever there was open spaces. So I'll look through my my list to see what this might be, but it's amazing. California giant zinnias here. Oh, this whole row is zinnias, just a bunch of different kinds. There's Cinderella Peach, Envy, Queen, is it Queen Lime with Blush? I'm kind of like forgetting. There's so many varieties to remember. Anyway, it's just a zinnia row. We've got Baby Ball Dutch Beets down here, which were a late seeding. I'm gonna see how we're doing. I haven't thinned them, clearly. Yeah, they're pretty small still. They're about an inch diameter at this point. Cosmos rather. More cosmos right here. And then if we swing around the front of this row, you can see the snapdragons. You can see some of the asters, which I learned that the asters need to be in their own row. Way too much water for those. But you know, honestly, I have still been using the blooms because when you get your bloom, you take all the leaves off anyway. So it removes all of the yucky looking yellowy stuff, and the bloom's still beautiful. But that's one thing I've made a note of. The snapdragons are starting to look really good again. Look at the big bumble. They're so cute. The snapdragons went, oh, there's another bumblebee. They went through a little bit of a sad period through the really hot part of the summer. They were glorious this spring, sad for a little bit, and now they're starting to look good again. And there's a lot of really nice bloom stalks on here that we can use for arrangements. And I'm just noticing that we're gonna need to cut the water back a little bit in this area now that we're cooling down. All right, so the next area is probably the most exciting because we've got the dahlias blooming and gorgeous, but look to your left here. Look at the grass pathways. They are so beautiful. I love that they're starting to come in, and this again is going to be a grass pathway as well. So it's kind of like an anchor for all of the pathways that are leading to it to connect to, and it kind of makes it make more sense. So I think the plan is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Erin, but I think we are going to, as soon as these are kind of mowable and we can navigate on them a little bit more, you're going to tackle maybe the perimeter this fall, the whole thing. The whole thing. So this will be the next area, which is exciting. I think we'll have to pick one of the sides, though. We'll have to leave one side open for a little while so we can still get in and out of this garden space. But by next spring, we should have grass going. So anyway, the dahlias. Now we're at the other end here. I just want to point out a few really pretty ones, but if you kind of pan over this whole area, you can see how much beauty is going on this time of year. It took our dahlias a little while. In fact, I thought, oh mercy, are we gonna get dahlias this year? Seemed like they stayed short for so long, and then they just kind of exploded. I think they needed that intense heat that we got. But the first two rows are full of primarily new varieties. So this one is called Pooh, like Winnie and the Pooh, which is perfect. Isn't that the perfect color?
Winnie and the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh, not and the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh.
That would be bad, Winnie and the Pooh. That's a different story.
Strike that. Anyway, nice long stems on these. I did not, so in terms of planting and care, we dug the holes, put in biotone and land and seed compost, put the tubers in, planted them, and kept them watered. That is it. No fertilizing, no pinching, nothing. And I still got really nice long stems. You know, I'm not growing these for massive production, and so I don't really worry about the little details that maybe would help create maybe blooms earlier, like starting my tubers early on in the greenhouse and then moving them out here. I just kind of go with it naturally, how it works for the season, and we enjoy, clearly, a ton of blooms in this area, and I'm really happy with it. So anyway, another one. This is one of my faves this year. This is Glory of Hempstead. We had a little bit of a dusty windstorm, so they're a little bit dirty, but they're the most beautiful, like perfect lemon yellow color. And I love this size. This size of dahlia is probably my favorite because they're easy to work into arrangements. Like they can be the star of the arrangement or they can be an accent. You know, when you've got a dinner plate, like clearly that's the star of an arrangement, and they're a little bit harder to work with just because of their massive size. And dahlias that are that big are not very moldable. Like these are a little bit easier because they've got a little bit more flex somehow, but they can kind of work in arrangements a little bit easier than the big ones. Brown sugar is always a fave of mine, was my favorite last year. I used it in just about everything. I used a bunch of these though in the bridal bouquet that we just made this last week. So really beautiful. This one is called Noel. Isn't that perfect? The red and white. Super fluffy, really nice size on that. They start off a little bit deeper in color. Sorry, I know it's probably hard to see on this side, but a little bit deeper on the red side. That's one of the things I love about the cut flower garden. I can do all the colors all together and it all really jives and just looks happy and fun. We've got some real beautiful white ones. Look at this one right here. White with that purple edge on it. It's called Crazy Love. And then we've got beautiful, kind of a pinky purple color. Those are called Emperor right here. This one is called Mary Evelyn. Let me find a really good one. Some of these are aged. That's the other thing. I haven't deadheaded anything out here either, and it shows. It'd probably be helpful if I would at least do that just to keep the energy going to new flowers. But isn't this cool? Like the inner petal, so it's got like a little flower and then a big flower. And whoa, these are Spartacus. Holy moly on the red. That's like a fire engine right there. Then we've got Kelvin floodlights. Look how massive. These are so huge. And another really nice lemony color. The Night Silence is absolutely beautiful. I've had some mutation with this one. So you can see this one's like perfect. Absolutely beautiful. And then you can see this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blooms on it. That's not normal. But a lot of these have done this. So I don't know. But a lot of them are nice too, so I don't really care. Just have a couple of weird ones in here. Okay, I think what we're gonna do is I wanna just show you a few close-ups of some of the ones that I really like just to speed this up. I feel like this could be a video all on its own, just a Dahlia tour complete. But anyway, this one is called Mambo, and I love that the center, it's got enough yellow in there, it almost gives it an iridescent quality. This one's called Polka with the really pretty pink on the outside, soft pink with the fluffy yellow center. This one's called Rockstar, and at first I wasn't sure if I loved it, but now I think I love it for how unique the shape is. This one's called Vasio Megos, not sure if I'm saying that right, but big fluffy lavender. This is actually one of my favorite varieties this year. It's called Penny Lane, and I'm noticing that there are a lot of different shapes out of just this one variety. So there's this one that's more full, and if we look at this one, I absolutely love the open structure of this one and just the coloring. I think it's so pretty and unique. This one's called Goldashink, really pretty coloring with the bicolor kind of orange and yellow, just very striking. And we can't leave out Cafe LA. We've got several of these I carried over from last year, and they've done wonderfully. I might be wrong on the name of this one because it's in the Old Rose Mix patch, but that's not what this is. I think this might be a Holly Hill Lemon Ice. Gorgeous though. This one's called Sonic Bloom. Beautiful pink, kind of peachy color, and the stems are really dark on this one, which is really kind of neat. This whole section right here I have tagged Cafe LA, which these definitely have that vibe to them, that really beautiful creamy color. But some of them look a little bit more on the pink side, and I know that there's a different variation of Cafe LA, and I'm not really sure what happened. They're all gorgeous. But anyway, kind of interesting to see the color variation. This one's called Lake Ontario, which we live in Ontario. Clearly this was not named after our town, but I found it interesting that these are the high school colors here. So I had to have a few of those. This one's called Pumpkin, which is very appropriate with the colors that it is in the season that we are heading into. I go for a lot of autumn colors in this area. I've noticed that. I have way more oranges and like peach color and yellows than really anything else. This one is just part of a mix called Pink Mix. It's really pretty. I have this section labeled Snow Country, which is supposed to be a large white one. So I don't know what variety this is and this. These are both in the same section right here. I noticed that some of them are Snow Country, which is the big white fluffy. I mean, I remember growing these. I don't know exactly what variety they are. I'm gonna have to refer to my notes from last year, but isn't this pretty? The deep burgundy, I used a lot of these in the wedding bouquet this last week as well, but the deep colored leaves and the dark colored stem is just so pretty. So if you come in close on this one, you can see a beautiful kind of bluish purple one called Bluebell. Beautiful shape, and then you can see some carrots. I popped some carrot seeds in random places where we lost dahlias in a windstorm early on. And it's kind of a really good use of space because we have drip tape going to the whole row, whether or not there's a dahlia there or not. So I thought, well, I don't really want to waste the space. So I just tossed carrot seeds kind of all over in this garden. Oh, I love this one. What is the tag on this one? That is so pretty. Look at this. Look at how gorgeous this whole section is. I got to run around to the other side to look for the tag. The tag I have on this one says Tender Mix, and I don't know if that's probably not right. This is another one we probably labeled improperly. We need to get better at that. However, it doesn't really matter because again, I'm not growing these to sell them or anything or have a specific variety. It's just fun to have all the color and almost kind of fun to have the surprise to see what actually comes up in this garden. The row over from the dahlias, we have gladiolus, which a lot of them have been deadheaded already. Some of them still have blooms. Some of them I'm gonna harvest. Look at these bloom spikes that have come out late, which is awesome. So anyway, gladiolus are one of those things. I like to have them, but they're incredibly hard to arrange with. I mean, this one had blooms all the way down to here. Like, that is enormous. And they're not very flexible. They're very much so a kind of centerpiece flower in my opinion. So typically if I use gladiolus, I just put a big bunch of gladiolus in the same container and that's it, and just let them kind of be their own thing. But they're fun to grow and they have multiplied because I grew all of these were from last year. I dug them all. They had all turned into like 3. So each, I don't know if they call them corms, gladiolus corms, but each one of them had multiplied into at least 2 or 3. So I was able to expand my row quite a bit. Okay, let's hop over here. You'll see right back here is where the orchard is. And we've done several videos back here. I just harvested most of the peaches a couple of days ago. Trees are all doing really well back here. You can see that the footings have been dug for our little flower shed. So this is gonna be the size of it right here. It's just a little cute shed we're putting in here that's not heated or cooled or anything. It's just basically going to be a shell. We had to, like, I was looking at kits, shed kits, but we get such extreme wind that we were worried that putting something out here that was a kit wouldn't be a long-term solution. So we decided to actually have like a legitimate foundation poured, just more strength for the building, and so it will last longer, and I think in the end it's worth the extra effort. So that is going to, hopefully the concrete is supposed to be here sometime this week, so hopefully we see those go in and hopefully the structure is up by winter. We were waiting on trusses too because trusses were like 2 months out when they ordered them. So anyway, very exciting. And we really kind of waited on the rest of this. I do have a ton of bulbs we're going to be planting in the orchard, and I kind of want to do like a very natural meadowy feel in here, but we wanted to wait until we knew that no machines were going to need to be around, nobody was going to need to be walking around in here before we really attempted any kind of in-ground planting. So anyway, hopefully they get with it so we can get our bulbs in the ground. The rest of this section right here, you can see I have a couple of cantaloupe. We just picked a bunch, and the weird part is part of the vines still look really good, but like almost immediately after I picked them, this vine just like collapsed. One of them did. I need to pull it. It just, like, the fruit looked like they're overripe at this point, or yeah. And they weren't, like, they were not ready to pick just a few days ago. So I don't know exactly what happened. It doesn't matter. We've harvested tons off of these vines already. Still kind of a weird deal. The rest of this row is Bright Lights Swiss Chard, which came up beautifully, and it has plenty of time to grow up and look gorgeous. And then we've got 2 rows, one on either side of this area with sunspot sunflowers. These are the coolest. This is how tall they grow with these enormous, like this is my hand, I mean enormous flowers. They produce nice seeds, so really good forage for wildlife and birds if you want to leave them up through the winter, which for something like this, I feel like it's more of a possibility to leave them up through the winter because they're so stout and short. If you get the huge, I grew those huge large gray striped sunflowers. Remember last year they were massive and they were super tall, but there's no leaving those kind of things up over the winter. They'd just be all falling down in a big old mess by the end. So I think, I mean, I'm not sure we'll leave these up, but I think we could if we wanted to. Honeyberries actually have produced quite a few honeyberries this year, and this one actually has more forming. We just recently added an extra ring of drip. I didn't realize that they were kind of getting a little bit crispy. They'll be fine, but they weren't getting quite enough water for how much wind and heat we got. So I've been really enjoying the fruit though. They say that the fruit, well, some people say it tastes like a mix between like raspberry, strawberry, blueberry. I think they just taste like almost like a huckleberry. They just taste like a wild berry and they're really tasty. Okay, I don't know how to go about this row. Maybe from the other side, it's a little shorter. You can really just see across this and see the amaranth. We've got a variety called Hot Biscuits. The next one is called Emerald Tassels. Then we've got Red Spike. And then we've got one Coral Fountain. I'll show you closer when we get over there. So in the center here, the other reason why I was kind of shying away from grass throughout this whole area is we do plan on pouring some kind of pad right here, concrete pad, and putting a fountain in this area. I don't know if it's gonna be round or square or whatever. I haven't picked out what fountain because I knew it's probably a next year project. Fountains typically splatter, and I kind of worried about if we have grass right up to the fountain, we're gonna struggle with that grass so much, and then having to maintain around the fountain. I just didn't know if I wanted that. But anyway, so that's just, it's still a possibility. The fountain is a definite. I just don't know which one yet. And then in the corners, we kind of thought putting benches, one in every corner, kind of facing the fountain, maybe with a couple of pots. Flanking each bench would be really fun. The obelisks probably won't stay. It's been a really nice structure. They're really not that sturdy though. So I don't know that we'll get that many more years out of them. We'll use them somewhere until they fall apart, but that's kind of the future plan for this space right here. So right beyond the sunflowers, we've got the peppers, which have just been prolific, just crazy producing peppers. They're already loaded up again. I just harvested these. Right beyond that, we've got some California poppies that really came up poorly for me. I seeded twice. I'm doing something wrong. I need to do some more research. I've grown California poppies before, but not these varieties. Really sweet bloom, so I can show you. I planted 3 different varieties. They're all from Floret. This one is called, look at my sad little tag, Thai Apple Chiffon. Oh, I just broke it. Look at that. Isn't that so beautiful? So delicate looking. Such sad germination. This one is Thai Champagne. That doesn't look like, that looks like a champagne. Anyway, there's 3 different colors here. There's the darker pink, the lighter pink, and then the champagne kind of apricot, which this is my favorite color, probably out of all of them. Look at that. So we'll try again. These will probably come up in their exact spot next year, and they may seed themselves right here as well. We've got feverfew right here. There's a few different varieties. There's one variety that has more spherical shaped blooms. So you can see right here the yellow. And then we've got one that's a little bit more open right here and has a little bit more of the yellow in the center. And then we've got this one that has a definite like daisy appearance. Looks like chamomile. Really beautiful. I use this as a filler in arrangements. And then I grew some more, this is Queen Lime Blush Zinnia right here. This was a late seeding. I did this at the same time I was planting the fall crops. And then we've got another, this is a fizzy white maybe, Cosmo. There's some mignonette right here, which is kind of blooming out at this point, but it was a very nice filler. We've got celosia, or celosia, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but check these out. One of you guys sent me these seeds. They have really flat, wide stems, and they look like they belong underwater, but they've grown beautifully. I started these late in the cold frame. I just put a tray of soil on the ground and scattered the seeds, and they did great. Obviously they came up. They were kind of smallish when I planted them out here. I never thinned them or anything. They just have grown beautifully. And then there's another variety of celosia right here. And these have more of a normal kind of stem, smaller bloom, a little easier to use in arranging, but fun to grow either way. Kind of like fireworks or something. And then we've got a couple of different varieties of basil. We've got amethyst. That's an amethyst improved right there. And I think this one is, I just heard you step on a pepper. Shame, Aaron.
Maybe you need bigger walking paths.
Perhaps. I did 10 inches bigger, 6 inches bigger than last year. I think I did 30-inch pathways last year, 36-inch this year. I think next year we should probably do 4-foot walkways. That's gonna eliminate a whole planting row for me. The, what?
God forbid you plant like a couple less plants.
The artichokes did amazing. Now they have powdery mildew at the moment, but I'm not worrying about it because we're about ready to have a killing frost probably in the next month or two. Well, probably in a couple months. So I'm not going to worry about spraying anything or trying to get on top of it. The leaves will die back. We'll cut them back, mulch them up. Hopefully they'll come back next year. But yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. They were so incredibly prolific. I don't know what's going on with this one, but the stem looks like starting to fall over. I did harvest I don't know, 20 or so to eat. I've got a bunch of them drying in the studio, and then I just left these because they were just so beautiful, and I wanted to see what they would do on the plant because this is an experimental thing for me. I've never grown them to this stage before. This row has been a little bit hit and miss. I planted Rudbeckia in the beginning, and my Rudbeckia was kind of a fail this year. I did so well with it last year, and this year my seedlings didn't do so great. They kind of got ignored. A lot of my seedlings got ignored this spring early on when we had Samantha. She was, I don't know, a month or two old when I started all these seeds, and some things fell through the cracks. They're beautiful, the ones that grew. I think these are the Sahara. I love the mix of colors. Some are just still coming up. I had then, when the Rudbeckia kind of failed, I planted some nasturtiums in this area, which nasturtiums for me, they're hit and miss in germination. I've got several coming up, but in the open spots I put carrots. So this is another area. I just tucked some carrot seeds. So I thought, well, I don't want to waste the water out here. I want to grow something. And then the rest of the row, I've got more basil, and then my one coral fountain amaranth. So we didn't get the stake, I'm not sure what happened, but we didn't get the staking system moved all the way over here. So all the coral fountain, this whole thing was full. All of them got broken off at the base in a windstorm except for this one. This one was laying down. So Paul staked it up so we could at least see what color it is, and it's definitely one I want to repeat for sure. It's a beautiful color. And then if we pop over here, you can kind of get a close-up of the amaranth here. Absolutely massive. Look at this. Look at how huge. The staking system we used is the same as the sweet peas. We did T-posts with ranch panels, and then we can just lash things to it. We did it that way just because we had the supplies on hand, and it works really, really well if you get to it in time. The emerald tassels right here, wonderful in arranging. Look at the drape on this thing. And they're really beautiful. We did cut a bunch of these for the wedding as well. Whoa, look at how tall this is, or long, I guess. It's like a garland in and of itself. And then the hot biscuits is a really fun color. Really like this. This is a little bit of a newer bloom right here. That kind of orange color. And then it kind of ages out, well, you can see on this great big giant one, it ages out just a bit darker. Right there. And then the rest of this, we've got our corn, which we enjoyed. Oh my goodness, it was so good this year. Next year, one of the notes I made is I need to be better about succession planting. I planted both of these rows at the very same time. What I should do is I need to dedicate 3 rows, maybe even shorter rows. These are only, I think I did 16 feet. 16-foot rows, which is the length of the ranch panel. But I need to plant 1 row and then wait 2 weeks, plant the second row, and then wait 2 weeks and plant the third row. But my problem is, usually if I let any space sit for that long, I just get antsy and I want to fill it with something. So I really need to be like purposeful about succession planting so we can enjoy corn for 6 to 8 weeks rather than just a few weeks. But I left all the corn up and we have it tied up so that it stays really nice, so that I can bundle it up and make corn bundles for fall decorating, which I'm gonna do any day now, as soon as I get to it. The sweet peas, we left them all up. They did really well despite their kind of rocky beginning. They got taller this year than last year. The bottoms are all dried up and done, but the tops are still gorgeous and producing flowers. And I let these go because I want the seed pods to mature, and I collect a lot of the seeds. So it's something I need to go through and collect some now, but anyway, you can see some of the pods, like the newer pods right here. See if I can locate an older pod right here, which you can then break open. These are little itty bitty seeds, and gather the seeds right there. And then a couple other things. That's pretty much it for the sections in the cut flower garden. I did want to give you an update on these containers. We had to move. This is the one that was all squished down on the backside from where it got filled with water, all plugged up, and the plants kind of struggled there for a little bit, and we had to move them back here when the sprinkler system was run. But they're doing so good. I'm so surprised that this one just kind of bounced back. This one is a white knight lobularia right here. This is one plant right here. Amazing. This is a new Thunbergia for next year, a new black-eyed Susan vine called Coconut Appeal. The thing I love about using these is you can see that it becomes a trailer plant coming down like kind of gracefully, I don't know, just looking gorgeous out the bottom, but then also a really fun trailing plant. And I think if this one wouldn't have been Oh, trailing?
You said trailing.
Oh, well, it trails up.
Oh.
Climbing plant.
Yeah.
If this one wouldn't have been set back, I think it would have reached the top. The other one on the other side, I'm looking over there and it's pretty much at the top of the obelisk in that container. That one didn't have the struggles that this one did. This is a new lantana for next year called Luscious Citron. Look how pretty that is. And then this is a new Angelonia called Cascade Snow. Isn't that pretty? Just gorgeous. The thing that I'm kind of seeing that didn't really survive it was the Osteospermum Bright Lights Yellow. You can still see it, but I'm not seeing any blooms really anywhere, and that could have been the water issue. I don't know what's going on in the other one. Blueberries and strawberries over here. Wanted to show you an update on these because look at this. These are the Buried Treasure pink and white strawberries planted this year. Benjamin and I haven't been out here in a little while, but I wanted to kind of avoid this spot so I could maybe gather up enough to freeze, which I think I've got plenty, or even make a batch of strawberry jam before winter. Blueberries did really well. Toward the end, I noticed a big flock of robins. I didn't know they like traveled in packs, but I saw like 25 birds out here, and they had stripped all of the blueberries clean, which some of them had like thick crops of blueberries on them. So I'm expecting next year for them to do really well. You know, this year they kind of struggled in our heat. That's one of the reasons why we put them in these tubs, so that we had the ability, one, to control the soil acidity, and the second, to be able to move them to a more protected spot if we need to. So I'm going to leave them here. Now that they're, you know, going to be more than 1 year old in this container, they may do better next year. So anyway, but I mean, you cannot say that the strawberries didn't love this. Come look at this. Look at all of these strawberries in here. Like, this is incredible. There's just gobs and gobs of berries in here. Dang. I need to get out here before the birds find them. All right, guys, so the battery died. We moved locations because I did want to show you the high tunnel area, which is right in front of me. I've got some thoughts about it. But that is the tour of our cut flower garden. So happy with how things are going, and I thought I would answer the question that if I don't talk about it, I think we'll see a lot of it in the comment section, and that is why? Why do you garden on this scale? Why do you grow all these things? You can't possibly eat all of this stuff, and so on and so forth. And there are a few reasons. So the first reason is I have an insatiable desire to grow things. I know a lot of you share that same passion. Like, it almost doesn't matter what it is. We just need to be growing stuff, trying things out, and this space has enabled me to just kind of this space is freeing. This whole new property is freeing. There's no design to it. There's no real method. We just kind of put stuff in the ground that we want to see what it does, and we get to watch it grow. And that really does something for me. The second thing is it allows us to give a lot away. We've been incredibly blessed. We do keep what we can use as a family. We have a root cellar in our barn. So I try to store things, and I'm learning about that. Like, it's a learning curve to learn about different humidity levels and all of that, and how to properly pack things so they store the best. And I think I'll constantly be learning throughout the years. But everything else we give away. And I do a lot of flower arrangements for our own house, but I also like to give away flowers and anything that comes from this space that's extra. And then the third thing is that it does provide us a lot of opportunity to try things out and then share what we find with you guys. And that's the whole reason of this tour. You guys have watched through this space this year. You know, we've done several videos out here. So I wanted to make sure that before we reach the end of the season, we may do another tour by the end if things survive our possible winds. I just kind of feel it. I feel like we're gonna have wind tonight. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure you guys got to see what things were looking like at this point of the year. Kind of the first week of September, this is what is typical of a space like this for us here in Eastern Oregon. But this space has gone through kind of the ringer this year. It's been an atypically hot year. I mean, over 2 months, well, it was right at 2 months of over 100-degree temperatures. It was taxing. It was taxing on the plants. It was taxing on us. A lot of wind. We got one rainstorm, and the one rainstorm we got was kind of like flash flood style. Like, our soil's not prepared to take in that much moisture. It's not used to it. So we get an inch of rain, and it's just like floods everywhere. So anyway, it's been an interesting year. I do want to show you this area because we had our high tunnel, which is a 50 by 14 Gothic arch high tunnel. It's been amazing. We had it in the cut flower garden last year. We broke it into 2 sections this year so that it would fit here. It was never meant to be a permanent location for the high tunnels. So when we had that like microburst windstorm that took our spruce tree out, it did, like the plastic of course was like flapping all over the place, but one of the bows, just one of them, bent a little bit. So we thought that was a good opportunity. We can get another bow, easy to replace that. But we took it apart. We have the parts behind our orchard fence. So once we find a more permanent location to pop these up, we may do that. But once this is down, because we're going to take this down here pretty soon, this area is then going to be opened up. So we have an opportunity from pretty much where the tomatoes are to where the lane is, right by the orchard fence. We'll keep a 15-foot opening right there for the tractor and to be able to move around and such. But we can plant it up like we're planting the rest of this area, just full of trees and evergreen shrubs, whatever kind of we love. Or I was thinking maybe we could do like another little mini cut flower garden area, but with perennial production. So like a row of peonies, a row of roses, irises, things that I want to keep in the ground and not necessarily move around like we're going to be doing with this space. I think that would be a really fun thing to do with this area. I'm not sure if that's what we're going to do, but it's something we can mull over the winter. We won't do it this year, so it'll probably be something we bump to next year. Anyway, that's it for our cut flower garden tour. Super happy to take you guys through our space to see what it looks like this time of the year. I'm really happy with it. I mean, this is the first year with that garden in the space, and it's just done tremendously well. I'm very, very thankful. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.